Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। नामचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जाय। वृंदावन धाम की जाय। नवद्वीप मायपुर धाम की जाय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जाय। भक्ति देव की जाय। तुलसी देव की जाय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जाय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru. All glories to Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 5. Right? Yeah, and text 31. Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so we're reading Canto 8, Chapter 5, Text 31. Please repeat after me. Ime vayam yat priyayeva tanod satvena srushta bahir antar avihi gatim na sukshmam rushayas cha vidmahe kuto suradhya itara pradhanaha ime vayam yat priyayeva tanva satvena srushta bahiranta avihi gatim na sukshmam rushayascha vidmahe kuto suradhya itara pradhanaha ime vayam yat priyayeva tanva satvena srushta bahirantaravihi gatim na sukshmam rushayascha vidmahe kuto suradhya itara pradhanaha ime vayam yat priyayeva tanva satvena srushta bahirantaravihi gatim na sukshmam rushayascha vidmahe kuto suradhya itara pradhanaha. Oh, please go ahead. Me vayam yat priyayeva tanva satvena srushta bahirantaravihi gatim na sukshmam rushayascha vidmahe kuto suradhya itara pradhanaha ime vayam yat priyayeva tanva satvena srushta bahirantaravihi gatim cha sukshmam rushayascha vidmahe kuto suradhya itara Suraja Itara Pradhana. Anybody online? Tapas? Nobody said.
Ini bhayam yad priyaiva tanva sadvena srishta bahirantar abhi gatimna suksmam rishayascha vidmahe kuto shuradaya itara pradhana.
Ime, these, vayam, we, the demigods. Yat, to whom, priyaya, appearing very near and dear. Eva, certainly. Tanva, the material body. Sattvena, by the mode of goodness. Srushtaha, created. Bahihi, antaha, avihi. Although fully aware internally and externally. Gatim, destination. Na, not. Sukshmam, very subtle. Rushayaha, great saintly persons. Cha, also. Vidmahe, understand. Kutaha, how. Asura adhyaha, the demons and atheists. Itara, who are insignificant in their identities. Pradhanaha, although they are leaders of their own societies. Translation. Since our bodies are made of sattva-guṇa, we, the demigods, are internally and externally situated in goodness. All the great saints are also situated in that way. Therefore, if even we cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is to be said of those who are most insignificant in their bodily constitutions, being situated in the modes of passion and ignorance? How can they understand the Lord? Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Him. Translation, please repeat. Since our bodies are made of sattva-guṇa, we, the demigods, are internally and externally situated in goodness. All the great saints are also situated in that way. Therefore, if even we cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is to be said of those who are most insignificant in their bodily constitutions, being situated in the modes of passion and ignorance? How can they understand the Lord? Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Him. Purport. Atheists and demons cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although He is situated within everyone. For them, the Lord finally appears in the form of death, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham. Atheists think that they are independent, and therefore they do not care about the supremacy of the Lord. Yet the Lord asserts His supremacy when He overcomes them at His death. At the time of death, their attempts to use their so-called scientific knowledge and philosophical speculation to deny the supremacy of the Lord cannot work. Hiranyakasipu, for example, was an exalted representative of the atheistic class of men. He always challenged the existence of God, and thus he became inimical even toward his own son. Everyone was afraid of Hiranyakasipu's atheistic principles. Nonetheless, when Lord Nrsimhadev appeared in order to kill him, Hiranyakasipu's atheistic principles could not save him. Lord Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakasipu and took away all his power, influence, and pride. Atheistic men, however, never understand how everything they created is annihilated. The supersoul is situated within them, not because of the predominance of the modes of passion, but because of the predominance of the modes of passion and ignorance. They cannot understand the supremacy of the Lord. Even the demigods, the devotees who are transcendently situated or situated on the platform of goodness, are not fully aware of the qualities and position of the Lord. How then can the demons and atheists understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead? It is not possible. Therefore, to gain this understanding, the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, offered their respectful obeisances to the Lord. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-anjana salakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Jayapataka Swaminiti Namane. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharani. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha krupasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayite girim yat krupatamaham vande Sri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramanandamadhavam Sri Chaitanyam Ishwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. Read the translation one more time. Since our bodies are made of sattva-guṇa, we the demigods are internally and externally situated in goodness. All the great saints are also situated in that way. Therefore, if even we cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is to be said of those who are most insignificant in their bodily constitutions, being situated in the modes of passion and ignorance? How can they understand the Lord? Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Him. So these verses, very intense. I've got these new glasses, and they're like those transitions, and it's so difficult to focus on the thing. And so please excuse me if I get a little bit, unfocused. Yeah. As I read the Bhagavatam, one of the things which I always tell you guys that I like to do is, where am I in this whole process of this Bhagavatam? What's happened? So I always read before, read after, kind of like get my bearings as to what's going on. So from this period on, from seventh canto on, a question was asked about about how Krishna is he more partial? Yeah, partiality. Is he partial to the devotees more than the demons? And so with that question, then Parikshit Maharaj Sukadeva Goswami begins the process of explaining about Shishupala Dantavakra, talking about Hiranyakasipu, and then we get to Prahlad Maharaj. And then after Prahlad Maharaj, then he starts talking about Gajendra. Let me think, I'm trying to remember what process it was. He talked about Hiranyakasipu, and he continued describing the Manus. When he was describing the Manus, he spoke about one of the incarnations was Hari, and then he said this was the Hari who saved Gajendra, and said, okay, well, tell me the story of Gajendra. I love the way The Bhagavatam is set up because it's so natural. Because if you tell stories to children or everybody, or anybody you're telling a story, and you say something, they'll say, wait, what do you mean that happened? Tell me, how did that happen? And you get sidetracked to another story. And then you go, okay, wait, let me come back. And then you come back to the main story, and then you'll say something else, and you'll say something, and they'll say, oh, wait, when did that happen? Explain to me about that. So it's such a natural progression in the Bhagavatam, because this is what happens. You'll have a conversation, somebody will say, well, tell me about this, and they start telling you, and then you say something, and it triggers another thought, and you ask another question. So it's so very natural the way this progresses. So then after he speaks about Gajendra, and then he talks about more of the Manu, the continuation of the Manus, then he talks about Ajita, and who is this incarnation of the Lord as a tortoise. And then he said, well, tell me about the demons. Okay, so then he starts, that's when this question of the churning of the ocean comes up. And so then he begins that story, speaks about the prayers given by Brahma. So that's the one of the, I guess you call it the catalyst for the discussion. Again, after the first question of the partiality of the Lord, he again, in this same canto, so this is in the 7th canto was the question started. In the 8th canto, in verse 20, in this chapter, in verse 22, again he speaks about the partiality of the Lord. And he says, explain to me more about this part. He says, Brahma says, there's no partiality of the Lord. And then he explains about this system. So what does he say about this creation? And he says that the Lord creates the time factor and the modes to control creation. And the Lord is not under the control of the creation. How has he created this world? So the way it's created, it fluctuates. Sometimes the mode of passion is prevalent, sometimes the mode of goodness is prevalent, and sometimes the mode of ignorance is prevalent. Depending on what is prevalent, those people are in those modes have the power. So when sattva-guṇa is present, then the demigods and the sages have the power. When rajo-guṇa, then the demons have the power. And in tamo-guṇa, the yakshas and rakshasas have the power. So this continual process. So why does this happen? Why does this continual change happen? This is where the impartiality is evident. So Krishna is not doing anything specifically. It's the game is set up that way. The whole process is set up that way. It's actually a rigged system. That's basically what it is. It's a rigged system. It's a system that you, no matter what mode you are in, no matter what position you are in, you are going to be controlled by this. And so the question then becomes, what's the lesson? What's the lesson? So as I was thinking about this process of depending on different things and different personalities are in control. So at this point, the demons are in control, right? Because the mode of rajas is, the rajo-guṇa, passion is prevalent. The demigods did something stupid, or Indra had Airavata, his elephant, disrespect the garland, and so what happens? The demigods, lose their position, and the demons are in power. Mode of passion is prevalent. This time the Lord comes. The Lord comes as Ajita to control this, and other incarnations in the process. But so this triggered for me a thought, and I said, well, what about, I always come back to Lord Bhishmadev and his discussion with the Pandavas. So he talks about this, and this is Bhishmadev, that whole personality and his whole mood is really very powerful for me. It's something that I really can resonate with, just his whole desire to see the Lord, even though he's on the wrong side of the war, right? And he says in here, he says, All the big gigantic planets, including the sun, are being controlled by the force of air as the clouds are carried by the force of air. Similarly, the inevitable kala or time controls even the actions of the air and other elements. Everything, therefore, is controlled by the supreme kala, a forceful representative of the Lord within the material world. So this is what the time factor does. You know what they said? You've got time's not right for you, and so what happens is the time for each one of us or each person in different modes will have some good days and some bad days. So what's the lesson in this? So there's a couple of lessons that I was thinking of. One thing is, he says in here, he says specifically, he says. But a pious man is faithful to the Lord, for he is guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, following the religious principles. These three guiding principles should be the aim of life. So this is what the solution is for being in a situation where the modes are going to be controlling us. There's no options. It's like it's the play they used to do, the fish out of water. I don't know if you remember it, where I remember they actually did a little movie about it, and Leela Shakti, I don't know if anybody knows, a long time ago book distributor here, and she was the fish in that play and in that movie, and it was the fish, and you take him out of the water and you give him a Mercedes Benz, you give him and he's still fluttering around trying to get some air, he's suffering. And then he said, okay, maybe he's cold, maybe he needs a blanket. So you give him a blanket, and he's still fluttering around like this, And then, and of course in the play it says they give him a cigarette and they give him something to drink and they give all this stuff, right? Nothing satisfies him, obviously. And so all these people are trying to figure out what's wrong. And finally a child comes and throws the fish in the fishbowl. And, so we're like fish out of water. This is not the place where we're supposed to be. And this system is set up for us to want to get out. So whether you're in the mode of goodness, whether you're in the mode of passion, whether you're in the mode of ignorance, the whole goal of our life is to get out of this. And that's why Krishna has set up this thing. And that's why we call it impartial. He's not showing any favoritism to anybody. The system is set up like that. And it depends upon how you utilize that system to your benefit. There's another analogy that they use, that the wind is always blowing. And you could be, there could be many boats, sailboats on on the river, right? But unless you put up your sail, you're not going anywhere. So you have the choice, first, of whether to put up your sail or not. And number two, to understand the knowledge of how to put up that sail to grab the wind. So that's what this process is for us. That even the demigods, so the demigods here, the demigods here are in trouble. So what did they do? What did demigods do? Somebody. What did they? Pray, right? So that's our, that's the lesson for us in this. That our only hope is, as he said, following the religious principles, the Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord, and to pray. And the other example here is Brahmadev didn't even know or didn't even see the Lord, right? So he hasn't seen the Lord. But by his understanding of pramana, or of his understanding of scripture, obviously he's knowledgeable. He knows there's a Lord, and he knows that he should pray to him. So that's what he does. Now eventually we'll see that, the Lord will appear. But I won't tell you more than that. But the goal, the lesson for us is whether we can see the Lord or not at this time. Our only solace is to pray for his guidance and for his help. And like I said, Brahma himself is explaining in this verse, we're in the mode of goodness, and we don't even understand him, what to say of other people. And so us, who are like minute little Brahmas of our own little body and nothing more, then we also need to follow in his footsteps, follow in the footsteps of the devotees, which is by praying. And you think, what else did I want to say about this? Okay, oh, that was the other point. The other point I wanted to speak about is the progress in the Srimad Bhagavatam as far as the prayers are going. Now, up to this point, all of these prayers have been very universal, except for Bhishma Dev's, which are a lot more personal, and Kunti Dev's. But as you're going on, as you go through their prayers, they're all very broad, speaking about the qualities of the Lord, the characteristics of the Lord. The Lord, almost like in his universal form, Paramatma form. But as you progress through the Bhagavatam, we'll see, specifically when we get to the prayers of the gopis, they become more personal. Now, this also is a process that sets in place because in order to understand Krishna's sweetness, we first need to understand Krishna's greatness. So this process of beginning these verses, beginning the Bhagavatam with these grand characteristics of the Lord, talking about his greatness, then it allows us to see the sweetness of the Lord and to understand that when we get to that point in the Bhagavatam. So anyway, so I am going to stop there because that's about all. We have some minutes for questions or comments, or maybe a little bit of discussion. Anybody have any thoughts? What I really like, what I want to just make this comment, what I really like this comment that Srila Prabhupada makes it.
Hare Krishna.
Hiranyakasipu is the exalted representative of the atheists. What a title to give him. Exalted representative, okay. Go ahead, Prabhu, please.
Thank you for the class. You mentioned that one of the lessons is to pray, Krishna inspired, maybe enforced us to pray to him. And these different Leelas you mentioned that also it says we can see that it's praying and when we pray then Krishna reciprocate, it's respond. And so what maybe you can give some advice how to learn to pray in a proper way.
I think number one, and Srila Prabhupada even says, there are so many prayers that we have. And I think for each one of us, there might be something that's very attractive. There's so many options in the Bhagavatam. There's so many prayers. And you don't have to go to the gopis' prayers. For me, I feel that's too advanced. That's, above my pay grade, as I'd say. So I think that any prayer that really you can resonate, that you can feel in your heart, and you can feel the pastime. It's very important when you're reading the Bhagavatam to read it. Srila Prabhupada calls them his divine ecstasies. That's what the purports in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he calls them his divine ecstasies. Now, we have the opportunity through these purports to see the spiritual world through the eyes of Srila Prabhupada. So if we take this Srimad Bhagavatam, it's not just a book. And that's one of the misconceptions. It's living Krishna. This is Krishna, personification of Krishna. We know that just through the Bhagavatam. It's a personification of Krishna. So when we're reading the Bhagavatam, we really need to go in with that mood that I'm spending time with Krishna. And let me read these. And Srila Prabhupada's sitting there next to me and guiding me, right? So you're there, Krishna's there, Srila Prabhupada's there. So you go into that with that mood. And like I said, connect front and back, in the beginning, in the back, as you go forward. It's very important to connect everything together to figure out what the underlying theme is. For me, that's what helps. And then you can feel the prayers. Then you can feel this is what this person is going through. And then, and it's really hard for us to kind of, how do I say, picture like demons and them going through that and stuff. But there may be situations in our own life where we are feeling very, very down and like, oh my gosh, how is this happening to me? And then we should remember who else in the Bhagavatam had gone through something like that. And then you go on to those prayers and you practice those prayers. I think that's for me is what's, and also praying can just be very simple. It doesn't have to be elaborate. Just kind of cultivate that fact that, Giridhari's right there, Krishna's right there. It's a cultivation, I feel. Thank you, Prabhu. Any other thoughts? Anybody else want to share something? Davida Prabhu, any thoughts you have on? You're always adding something.
I have something.
Yeah, I was thinking that the microphone. Oh, I'm sorry. Prabhupada always, when the movement started, I'm sure he had many questions. What does this Hare Krishna mean? What does it mean? So famously, he said, it is just a call. It is a prayer. It is meant to be a prayer. We're meant to prayerfully chant, calling on Radha and Krishna to engage us in their service. So in a sense, the whole movement is meant to be based on this mood of prayer.
Yeah.
And there are so many wonderful prayers to the holy name written by Rupa Goswami. I don't know if you're familiar with the Namashtaka,
Yeah.
but there's several prayers in there where you're simply praying for relish for the holy name, listing the Agadamana Yashoda Nandano. He gives a list of names. Nandano, Agadamana Yashoda Nandano, Mama Ratata Uchai Vardatam Nam. The last line is, let my attraction to you be increased more and more. So I always found that these are very helpful, and especially when I read Kunti's prayers and that Tvayame and Anyavishaya, that was like, an ideal prayer. I just felt, please, O Madhu's Lord, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind. As Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. To me, that was like, it never gets old.
Never gets old. I was thinking also the Mukunda Mala Stotra.
Oh, yes.
Has so many, Kurushekara Arva, there's so many, I can't remember, obviously.
Britya, but the servant of the servant. Please let me become the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. It really is. It's 7 times.
And then Jayatu Devaki Nandanoyam. I just remember the first line. Jayatu Devaki Jayatu Devaki Nandanoyam. Something like this. But yeah, those are very beautiful prayers too. And there's one in there, and the translation is, God, I just remember certain parts of it that let my mind like the hamsa, like the swans, and encircle the roots of the lotus or something. Let my mind encircle your lotus feet, and then take, now that I have my senses around, senses are in my control. Please, take me now or whatever. Yeah. Yes, that one. Can you say that, please, and do the translation? I love this prayer.
Well, I don't know if I can. Krishna tvadiya padapang japandarantam madhyayavame vishatamana sadadahangsam prana prayana samaye kapavata pittar kandavadodanavadhos madanam kutaste. Now, my understanding is that Prabhupada was chanting that, especially in that period of recuperation from that stroke that he had. He made it famous. So, Krishna tvadiya padapang, my dear Lord Krishna, please let the swan of my mind be entangled in the tendrils of your lotus feet. And how is it?
Vata Pitta, right?
Pitta tadiya padapanga pandit adhyavameva shatamana sadadahangsam prana priyana samaye kapavata pitta kandavaroda navadhos madanam. So the whole idea is that I don't know, my voice may choke up when so take me now.
Right. At the time of death, I'll be vile and everything will be choking me and I won't be able to say your name. So that's just
a very potent,
very powerful prayer. So and you don't have to have a lot, just one prayer, or even Hare Krishna, just very, ardently with our heart. Thank you, Dharit Fruit. That's what I was thinking of.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My question is about this, the translation. Demigods are saying that our bodies are made of sattva-guṇa, and we cannot understand you. What to speak of those who are situated in mode of passion and ignorance? And as we know that understanding the modes and how they interact is one of the main topics of Bhagavad Gita. So how does the holy name help us to get free from the modes of nature, including sattva-guṇa?
Well, just chanting, because Krishna's name is all powerful, right? So the more and it's by Krishna's mercy that we rise above these. We can do nothing by our own effort. Even chanting, even asking Krishna to allow us to chant, even chanting is also His mercy. Obviously, Srila Prabhupada's mercy and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, who are we to be able to chant? We really don't have the qualifications. But it's by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy and by Srila Prabhupada's, love for his spiritual master and his compassion for us that we are allowed to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And if we chant that, see, this Hare Krishna mantra, like Srila Prabhupada said, it's like medicine. So whether you know the power of it or not, it's going to work. Now, if you add, just like a doctor gives you a diet and exercise and all that stuff, if you add all those, which Srila Prabhupada did with prasadam, etc., and our whole program, the whole program. I mean, if you do the whole process, like they say, you want to control, you got to do diet, exercise, and and you have to have, your mind has to be in a good mindset, right? For you just to be healthy or just to lose weight, you just can't do one thing. It'll help, but if you want the real, power, you got to do diet, exercise, and all. That's that's the whole thing. So chanting is the only way that you go above. And if you ask, and in this prayer you ask Krishna, please Krishna, help me get to you, help me get out of the modes, then he, out of his causeless mercy, out of his compassion, and always, and Hare, Srila Prabhupada says Hare is representing of Radharani also. So we're actually asking her, and she's like this typical mom, like, who's always telling the dad, oh no, it's okay, just kind of, let him go, come on, give him a chance. Because, if mom, dad's got to pay the heavy. I mean, that's what his role is, and mom's the one who's like, oh, it's okay, just give him a chance. That's what Radharani's mood is. So that's when we're chanting, as David Prabhu was explaining, we understand that we are requesting Radharani, please, whisper in his ear, tell him to, there's I don't know these, but there's a lot of krutis or songs by Tyagaraja, which are like, the prayers of our Vaishnavacharyas. So Tyagaraja is a South Indian saint who was a Ram Bhakta. And there's so many songs where he's always saying, Sitamma, Sita Devi, please, can you put in a good word for me? Sitamma Talli, Sitamma Talli. Talli means mothers. Please, can you put in a good word? So this is the way they pray. These pure devotees pray. Even they don't go directly to Krishna. They are talking to Sita Devi, or they're talking to Radharani. Radharani, put in a good word for me, And so that should be our mood. Put in a good word for me, I'm trying. David approve.
I don't know if you've ever been to any of these japa retreats. Have you ever done a japa retreat?
No, and I want to.
I remember the early aughts. I was invited to come, like maybe half a dozen I got to go to. And it's really great because, like, for a week maybe, or for at least 5 days, Monday to Friday, your whole day is filled with glorification of the holy name, chanting the holy name, And then there's one day, usually, where you chant 64 rounds, That's a big challenge, So I remember working on the 64 rounds, and the thought came to my mind that you're praying to the holy name through the holy name. You're praying to, the Krishna in the form of that holy name by chanting and trying to concentrate and being sincere, and it really is like that. And as it's throughout the literature, it's like the holy name you don't even have to know what it means. If you just chant it by accident, it's so many benefits. What to speak of if you're doing consciously and with full awareness and following the footsteps of the great acharyas. So that and as you explained, it's just like this is Lord Chaitanya's great gift. There's no hard and fast rules. It's not surrender to me, do this, then you can chant. No. Start chanting. And then you become open to all the other things that makes the chanting more effective. In other words, the chanting itself, the holy name itself is purifying you so that you can more easily appreciate the holy name. That's like it is. Krishna in the form of his holy name.
Yeah, he gave us and I'm also thinking about when we do go on Harinam, Srila Prabhupada also explains that that even the trees and everything, it's not just the people, but I think, David, it was you or somebody was explaining how, a couple of days ago, about how this is not an artificial Krishna consciousness, or this love for Krishna is not something artificial. It's there. And it's not only there in us, but it's there in the trees and in the flowers and everybody and everything and everyone. Just more of us are covered than others. But it's like the drop of water that falls on the rock. One drop at a time. Eventually, the rock gets a little bit more of a line, and then all of a sudden you got the Grand Canyon. You got this split, right? So that's the power of it, just a drop at a time. And so this Harinam, this the going out and chanting, or even simply stuff like, I always tell my kids when I'm going Hare Krishna, and they'll say Hare Krishna when they're going. And for them, it's like, Alma's always saying Hare Krishna. So they may not realize how powerful it is, but for me, it's protection. I think that, they say, okay, I'm going now, see you later, Hare Krishna. They say it just to say it because it's become habit. But it's powerful. It protects you. It protects you. I remember that every time my mother-in-law, we'd walk out the door, she would say Sri Rameshnaya Namaha. It's okay, Sri Ramaya Namaha. So this tradition of saying the Lord's name whenever, Rameshnaya Namaha, which is a name for Hanuman actually. But she would say that because Ram Bhakta, right? But this tradition of chanting the name in any situation is a very good habit to have. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Oh, I don't have my watch. Yes, Prabhu.
I want to add to this question about Harinam, that you very nicely explained the mood of Srimati Radharani, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came, Krishna himself, but he came in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Mm-hmm. And so, like you told that, let's do it, let's come on. No. And the same, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave chance to everyone. Yeah. And when we help him in this mission, he's so happy. Then, like Indra Prabhu told that only way is like he gave comparison, like medicine is Hare Krishna, japa, but Harinam on outside, this is like injection, is more powerful. And if we want to, be like Dujamani Prabhu asked, how to overcome these modes of nature, is only way is we need injection, because of we so fallen, and also we should accept that I'm fallen, because if I thinking, I'm good, I'm okay, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can't help.
And I think to that point, we can't become complacent either. That's another point I wanted to make about being in the mode of goodness. We may think that being in the mode of goodness is the best, but actually each one has its own, good points and bad points. Being in the mode of goodness, you can become complacent. So sometimes, sometimes only if you light the fire under people that they actually take some action. So depending on our mood, we may need a little bit of fire, unfortunately. So we have to ultimately realize it's all good. Ultimately, it's all good. It's all for our own good. But hopefully, we'll learn the lesson sooner rather than later, so we don't have to get burned too many times. Yeah. Yeah. I like that point you made, Prabhu, about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood. Yes, his mood of Radharani. Yeah. Special. Very special. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and the medicine, yeah, and the injection. Oh, one other thing that I know Dhanavari always says, how Vaisheshika Prabhu explains that that every time you distribute a book, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving you a hug. So, so you're like, you're immediately getting it. So, thank you. Hare Krishna.